Let's frame that up differently. There we go. OurNet, live from Lisbon. It's been a little while since we've done some videos like this. Carl Munson here, town crier of OurNet, along with founder of OurNet, Michael Brodie. Hi, Mike.
Hi there, Carl. Good to be here.
This is a little bit different from our previous videos in as much as we're in the same room in a new city.
We are.
And that's the first bit. We've got three things to talk to you about today. One is a brief update about what's going on for OurNet, live from the OurNet sofa, and
in
Lisbon, in Lisbon.
Yeah.
And so we'll give you a little bit of an update of what we've been up to and how we get to be in this condition right now, as well as maybe a quick look at the phenomenon known as President Trump of the United States and why Mark Zuckerberg is getting into cryptocurrency. We aim to be fairly brief. It's not our habit, it has to be said.
Right.
So feel free to shout out and ask any questions via Facebook Live. It would be great to hear from you and to catch up. But we're only going to be here for about 10 or 15 minutes with any luck. First of all, hola, boa tarde from Lisbon.
Boa tarde.
And we are so delighted to be here in Lisbon. We have moved here to really get things off the ground and build a team. Do you want to say a bit more about that, Mike?
Yeah, well, we've moved here to really get things started and build a team, I think, Carl.
Okay, yes. Yes, it's so good we said it twice.
Yeah.
So on that matter, we are looking for people, for developer, programmers, possibly two groups of two, was one of your ideas, isn't it? Somebody with responsibility for the graphical interface and how the site looks, and then how the site is experienced, so a user experience person as well. That's what we want to have around us in this early stage of OurNet. We are pretty much there with an office in. Dare we say the location?
I think it's fairly certain now.
Okay, Village Underground, fabulous development just next door to LX factory.
Or El Ish, as we say.
El Gish, isn't it? El Gish factory. Yeah. We are working with a wonderful Mateus and Mariana at Village Underground, which is a superb spot at the back of the old Caris. I suppose it's a depot and the headquarters of the original bus and tram service here, and it's underneath the April 25th bridge. Incredible location, a cluster of containers and double-decker buses all welded together. So come and have coffee with us sometime if you're passing, if you're in Lisbon or just want to come out and see us. It'd be great to entertain you at our new headquarters and to hear from you if you fancy being part of that team, which we're keen to build. That's where we're at strategically with OurNet right now. Did you want to add anything more to the update?
Beautifully put, Carl.
Thank you very much. I think you might have something to say about the next segment. Donald Trump seems to be causing a lot of iration and misery and upset, and sometimes mirth and merriment, people laughing at his expense mostly, though, it seems. How is it, Mike, that somebody so powerful can have so many people seemingly against him, and yet there's very little anybody seems to be able to do about it, except just insult him on social media and belittle him through books and stuff? But there he remains in the seat of power, thought to be one of the most powerful positions on the world stage.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, power, isn't it? Because you can't take power. You can only be given it. So Donald Trump has been given power, and fundamentally the reason he's still there is because the people that gave him power still think that he is the best person to have there at this moment. And really that's all that there is that's going on. And the reason people think it's the best thing, presumably, is because if they lose him, then they start losing power themselves. And so they don't want to do that. So therefore they'll suffer the indignities, the embarrassment, all that stuff, just to maintain their grip on power.
And when you say they, you're not talking about the electorate necessarily. They come quite a long way down in the list of priorities, don't you? You're talking about what the people who effectively run and rule the establishment of America will have the power.
It is, and even though even though the people, the electorate, the people at the bottom of the system, fundamentally they have all given their power away. One way or another, they've given their power away to the people that they have placed at the top. And the people that they place at the top are not behaving in the way many people would like them to. And the people at the bottom aren't saying, actually, we take our power back in enough numbers. And fundamentally, that's all that's going on.
Yes, and I think a certain amount of disillusionment sets in, doesn't it? Because they might get to that point that you describe where we need to motivate ourselves, we need to educate, agitate and organise, I think was a phrase that's been in American politics for a long time, of activism and creating awareness for change in American politics. But it stalls, it stops somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And where it stops really is how it then creates the situation exactly as they have it.
Yes.
What could change to allow the people we refer to as being on the bottom to influence what's going on at the top, or for that power to be shared so there isn't a top and a bottom?
Right. So my own personal feeling is that at this point in history and human development, people aren't really completely ready for a completely anarchic life experience. And by anarchic, I don't mean that in a negative sense, but where everyone takes full responsibility for the whole community. I don't think we're ready for that. And so therefore, if that's true, then we need leaders. We need people to basically hold the framework of society in a way that is reasonably stable, so that we can live our lives. And because we are also social beings, but we can't actually cope with large numbers of we actually can't really cope with the size of the systems we set up. I mean, America's 350 million, is it?
Yes.
You know, you cannot feel as an individual that you make very much difference.
But in terms of representation of your views?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the problem is we've actually centralised power. America to some degree less, but nevertheless the federal government has taken on a significant amount of power. People locally actually don't feel they're being represented by it, so the only thing they can do is have protest votes, and I think Donald Trump rose out of that. Yeah. He voiced their concerns because he's actually a great publicist. Whatever you think about him personally, he's quite a media person. He knows what will catch people's ears. And so what's happened? People have voted in protest against feeling disenfranchised and ignored, basically. And we've now got someone in power who exhibits a lot of habits of a 2-year-old.
Extremely reactionary. But he and the people who voted for him, and the context of him being in power, is a reaction, isn't it? It's not causal. These are symptomatic things that are an expression of emotional states rather than any, and no disrespect to the American people, but it's not necessarily, and it wouldn't appear to be a reflection of an intelligently thought out proposition. This is an emotional reaction, isn't it? And we see the same thing in the UK. There is a reaction to something that has been voiced through the Brexit process. Yes. And both emotional reactions have suddenly stalled into chaos, haven't they? Yes,
absolutely. And the fascinating thing about this, we spoke earlier about the way that pilots, for example, there's a no-blame culture in the airline industry. And the reason there's no-blame culture is that it's realised that the vast majority of accidents on aircraft occurs because of system problems rather than pilot error. I mean, pilot error, might be blamed for it, but it's very seldom that you'll have a drunk pilot getting on a plane and causing a major problem. The vast majority of accidents which take place in the airline industry is because people recognise that actually there are systemic problems. Yeah. And I think in this world we have systemic problems, and Donald Trump is the symptom of a systemic problem. He's not the cause of it. He's arisen because the system called him into being, just like in the Brexit fiasco. called that into being.
Yeah.
So what is it? We need to look at what is it that actually calls those things into being. And it's the context, I would argue, very, very strongly, is the context in which we live, which is actually causing this sort of disruption to happen.
Yes. Hi, Anna and Mark. Thanks for joining us. So we have a systemic problem, but it would appear an absence of systemic solutions or changes of system.
Absolutely.
We were lost in the fighting over the results,
yes,
rather than creating systems that would give us different results.
Yes.
And yeah, to sort of bring it full circle, that's what we're endeavouring to address with OurNet, is instead of scrapping it out on the front line where the results are happening, we go back a bit and we create a new context in which people can communicate and relate to each other, share ideas, and create a different cauldron, if you like, for the results to bubble up into.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's the results that tell you whether the system works. And quite honestly, we've got a world where there's a massive disparity between the rich and the poor. We've got a world where vast proportion of the population of the world is malnourished in a state of extreme poverty. Yeah. We've got unparalleled wealth. We've got amazing technology, which could actually create almost heaven on earth without pollution, virtually. And yet we're stuck in this quagmire of which is created by the system we're using.
Yes.
The system needs to change.
Yes, and to connect with another OurNet theme, we're looking to create a world that works, which we know in our hearts is possible.
Yep.
If you go to the mind, or our minds, for a solution, it seems harder to believe, because that's where argument takes place, isn't it, and polarity.
Yep.
It seems we all know in our hearts, and we start out as kids as knowing that we could have a beautiful world, and then the cynicism kicks in.
Yep.
The results are in our face, and the results would seem to prove something. But if we stay at that result symptom level, probably nothing will change. Absolutely. And the results we're seeing would seem to suggest that anyway. Right now. Okay, so stay tuned, stay with us on the OurNet journey. Get involved in this conversation, please. We have OurNet Interactive, which is where things are discussed and things are posted, a bit more of a forum, and our OurNet corporate page as well for announcements and so on, and hopefully more of these sorts of videos. And we would love to receive your questions and insights and observations as well. One more thing before we go. Zuckerberg,
yes,
creator of arguably one of the greatest inventions of community,
yes,
certainly within the online world. Mark Zuckerberg now thinking about cryptocurrency. Why?
I mean, I'm afraid you're going to have
not spoken to him?
I haven't spoken to him.
Right, okay. Right. Why do you think he's getting involved now with cryptocurrency?
I think because he sees that there is something happening. He's aware enough to see that there's something happening. I have to argue with you actually slightly about the creator of the biggest, was it community building?
Social invention, social innovation and invention.
It's certainly social innovation, but but the Facebook's thing is about connectivity, and actually being connected with people you don't like is not necessarily a particularly good thing, arguably. I don't think connection is the thing. I think I think webs of trust and responsibility are probably where it is.
Very interesting. Okay, so Zuckerberg and his crew, their measure of success may well be the amount of connections.
Yes.
I.e., I have so many friends.
Yep.
There, as you're saying, seem to be suggesting there is no insight there into how well you like or get on with any of them, or the social impact that arises from that.
That's right. Yes, and actually all you're doing probably is searching for likes. As we tend to do in life, we want people to like us.
That's bringing about some soul searching within me. I would put my hand up to that. Anyone who knows me knows that sometimes I am in the business of searching for likes. Yeah, but it's a phase, I guess, not only I, but society will go through. Because there's something in it, isn't there? There's something we long for in terms of a connection, admiration and approval.
Yeah.
But we're bigger than that, aren't we?
I don't know. Have you got over that yet, Carl?
This is work in progress for me. I'm working my way through it. Now you mention it. So this has been a kind of therapy session for me, as well as a discussion about Mark Zuckerberg and his interest in crypto. But why crypto specifically? What's going on generally? I mean, you know, there is talk of a Bitcoin bubble. We're both very interested in cryptocurrency, the blockchain, and how this might work itself into a community network and how people might be rewarded and acknowledged differently. And cryptocurrency seems to be a really good way of doing that once you get beyond all the bubble hype. Is there... Can you make a connection there between Mark Zuckerberg's intentions and why he might be bringing crypto in at this stage?
I mean, I really can't talk for Mark Zuckerberg.
Even though I keep trying to make you do it.
I'm not even...
You won't go there.
I'm not going to go there.
Right.
And I think this goes back to our previous conversation about the structure of society. And the world has gone to... The fundamental structure of society is a financial contract.
Right.
And the way in which our financial systems are structured is designed to concentrate wealth. When I say designed, I don't mean it was consciously designed from the beginning, but over the years, the design has been improved and improved and improved. And of course, the design has been improved by people that tend to have a lot of money.
Yeah. And
so therefore, they will have improved the systems to improve their advantage for their own safety and security. And it's the financial systems which have created the relationships we have with each other. You know, the biggest political conversation in the year is the annual budget. You know, that's something which is a regular, routine happening.
Yes, and people are generally the way people approach that is to check their self-interest, isn't
absolutely,
it?
Yeah, absolutely. And none of this is about relationship. None of this is about sort of shared adventures on an amazing planet. None of this is about increasing the quality of life. It's always about how can we produce more for less. How can we improve?
Okay. So if I do try and put myself in the mind of Mark Zuckerberg at the moment and his team, because obviously it's not just him, it's the whole leadership of Facebook that's suddenly interested, or maybe not suddenly, but it has declared itself to be interested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Yeah. One position they might be in is that they don't want to get left behind, and they don't want to lose what they've got. Yeah. Another way of looking at it, and I trust this is our way of looking at it, is how the ethics of decentralization, of privacy, of shared wealth that come from the origins of Bitcoin and the blockchain could be incorporated into how we connect and work with each other socially on and offline.
Absolutely.
And it would appear that, well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we, with Facebook to see how they may or may not bring that in, and how the Federal Reserve may bring in its Fed coin or whatever. But certainly a very fascinating time.
Absolutely.
With the how there's the bubble bit and there's the ethics bit, and as the bubble expands, it casts a bigger shadow over the ethics bit, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
And the Fed currency, they're not actually interested in cryptocurrency. They're interested in a currency that they can control.
Yes.
And use it as a tool to control people's spending habits and sort of analyse people's beliefs, and
far better than they can with cash.
Absolutely.
Hence the war on cash as well.
Absolutely.
And why wouldn't they? I mean, that's what they do, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily a negative or critical thing. That's an observation of how it seems to work.
Yeah. And they're doing it from their fear that the whole thing's going to get out of control, and their habit is the more they control, the safer they'll feel. They think. Yeah. It doesn't seem to work to me, but that is an understandable motivation, and one which we all share, and work in progress for humanity. Indeed.
Mike, thank you very much.
Carl, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and giving us your time. Really appreciate it. Hope we haven't gone on for too long there, and hope we've said things of interest to you. Please comment, and please share, and please keep in touch. Take care, and lots of love from Lisbon.